6:01, and we will begin with this evening's town council work session. These items are for discussion. So, of the council schedule during the work session, unless added in compliance with. And to kick things off, we'll provide contact.
So, back in March, there were some articles on WWR and NPR related to community power and their electric rates. And at the March elections, both the town manager and I received some comments and questions from residents of Newmarket related to community power. So we thought it would be good to ask the senior member of community power to come and address the town council and explain electric rates, what their future might look like, and also talk about what the benefits of power. So with that, I will turn it over to the Executive Director of Community Power, Mr. Henry Dearden. You can get much more senior than that.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here with you. It's been a couple of years since I've had the pleasure of meeting with this body, and glad to be here to provide an update and then to get into a Q&A and just have a discussion about the state of community power and the energy landscape in New Hampshire. I am Henry Herndon. I'm the Executive Director, and I've been involved in the development of this market since its beginning. And so just a little bit of intro before I get into some of the slides. Just to provide some more context, so Newmarket was one of the initial founding and launching communities almost 3 years ago to date of community power in the state with the coalition in April of 2023. So it's been almost 3 years, and since that time, over 70 towns across the state have adopted community power. Community power serves more than 30% of the electric customers in the state. So we are in the midst of this market transformation that really got kicked off with Newmarket being one of the leaders a few years back. And so it's a good time to sort of revisit it and discuss the context and where we are at with things. This exciting shift towards more local control and options in local energy projects and programs and some of the benefits that we can get into. So our agenda, I understand, I'll provide an update on Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire, Newmarket Community Power as well. I'll discuss the financial outlook of Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire, our rates in the competitive energy landscape, and we'll talk a little bit about the benefits. And just sort of, I don't know, is this broadcast or are there folks that are watching from home?
Yep.
Very good. So just more context in case anybody's watching. Our organization, the Coalition, is a nonprofit joint powers agency. We are formed and created by municipal members, cities, towns, and counties across the state, including the town of Newmarket. We have 68 members, and we're created to serve them. We're a nonprofit corporation governed by the members and created for to represent their interests, both in power procurement and at the state in terms of legislative and regulatory policy on energy, and to support them towards their energy goals. So I'll get into the slides, I'll do some of the update, and then very much looking forward to discussion as well. I think that will be constructive. I'll also maybe just apologize up front. We have a great team on the member services staff that typically field governing body, town council, select board presentations. I used to do a lot of these a few years back, but if I'm a little rusty or perhaps less polished than some of the folks that do it every day, you'll forgive me in advance, I hope. And again, please be here. So I'm just going to start on the next slide, talking a little bit some of the customer communications improvements and updates that we have made recently, just in the past several months or past year. And I guess I have the clicker. Very good. So this is just a slide referencing the Newmarket Community Power website. Again, this is an optional program. It's the new default electricity program. And again, just some stats up front. Newmarket Community Power currently serves 4,220 electric accounts within the town. Any of those electric accounts at any given month can choose to shop with a different electricity supplier to go back to their utility like Eversource. So this is a new default option, but it is adding choices and competition to the market landscape. And the 4,220 accounts is of a total of 5,677 accounts. I understand maybe Mr. Lomacina briefs the council on the stats and participation rates. And there was recently a refresh enrollment of customers in Newmarket. Any customer can go to this website. They can select a different energy option. They can learn about the program. They can choose options with Community Power or to go back to their utility or another provider. And just want folks at home to be aware of this, communitypowernh.gov, and you can pretty easily find the Newmarket page there and self-serve. So this next slide is just showing that for customers. You know, we encourage folks to be informed and educated about their energy options, to sign up for communications, rate notices, you know, what's going on in the legislative space and energy, if folks are interested in that. There's all kinds of good events, and we have a growing subscriber base. And we see a lot of growing activity of customers coming in and out of programs, showing, you know, the elevated education about energy markets. So all you need is your electric bill and your account number on that bill to then self-serve and join the program or leave the program or choose a clean energy option. I'll shift to talk about the current rates. This is just a chart illustrating the current Newmarket Community Power base rate. It's about 14.5 cents, and you know, our rates transparently reflect our cost of service, so you can see the different components. Primarily, you know, energy and wholesale market costs. This is the energy ancillaries capacity, and then RPS stands for Renewable Portfolio Standard. That's the renewable content as a minimum required by state law. And then you can see the operating expense of the coalition, and on top the reserve contributions. So presently about 82% of the rate covers the cost of energy and the renewable content. There's 14% for building of community reserves at present, and then a small 4% for the operating expense. Now I will focus us on that reserve component for a moment. So the way the coalition operates is, like any supplier out there will have this similar cost makeup, but the reserve component would be a profit margin of, say, a private supplier. In the coalition's case, this is what builds the Community Reserve Fund, which is our sort of risk management tool to, over time, create stability, shift out, you know, manage price volatility and price spikes for customers, and empower the coalition collectively to achieve some of the goals of members. Contract with counterparties to build solar projects, or otherwise secure, you know, beneficial financing and credit or energy project development. Presently, we are in a period of building of reserves, and that portion of the rate associated with reserve is more substantial during the present rate period than it will likely be over time. What we can expect as we move through time is a tapering of the amount of reserve adder as I'll get into some of the strategy and our financial outlook, move towards you know, building those reserves, having to contribute less, and becoming more competitive in the market. And again, I would welcome questions. I'm happy to maybe get through it all and then go back to any of the slides, but whatever would be most appropriate. This is just a reflection of the activity of customers specific to Newmarket Community Power. These are opt-out rates over time. And you can sort of see the trend, and this is typical of what we observe, is that spike happening around, is it in December perhaps?
The initial one?
Yeah, that initial one, that bump to 16, that's like right at the end of December, early January. That is the announcement of rate changes, and we see more customer activity because more and more folks are aware and are subscribed. And then the second bump in activity is rates going into effect. So that's a typical trend that we see, and again, representative of the broader and growing, I think, education in the market. So, you know, this data, there's lots of data, and we're happy to also work with the council to provide any kind of data that would be valuable or interesting. And, yeah,
Are these numbers of customers or accounts?
These are customers that are opting out of service. And we could show the, you know, during different rate periods, we see influx of customers. If, you know, rates are significantly cheaper than utilities. Right now, there's a slight premium, so we're seeing some customers go back and shop. Financial outlook. So all of our, you know, we are an extension of municipal government, and we are subject to the same right to know provisions, and our meetings are public, and our books and records are public. So if there's any specific information, we frequently distribute materials and make them available to members or towns, our treasurer's reports, for example. So there's a lot of detail. It's all posted online. This is just from the most recent treasurer's report, our current financial forecasts of our current position and forecast. So I'll just show, again, some of the context here. This was a record winter in New Hampshire in terms of costs. Some of us may have seen Governor Kelly Ayotte on the news talking about ISO New England had a close to $1 billion cost overrun. There's this new component in the ISO market called the DAISY charge, Day Ahead Ancillary Services Initiative, that it spiked considerably relative to what the ISO had forecast. This is something that affects all suppliers in the market. There's been some news coverage, and it's in some of the market update materials that I shared. But part of the impact of that, as you can see, there's a draw in the January period. I don't know, the pointer might not show up, but in our current position of negative reserve during this rate period, forecast to have net positive accrual position where it says UAP 7. That is summer of this year. And then you can see sort of a tapering of that blue line in the middle for reserve growth moving through the remainder of the year towards January of 27, at which point we will have positive reserve accumulation, and we're really tracking towards that purple bar and dashed line, which is our minimum target for our policy. That represents 60 days of cash in reserve. As of the end of January 2028.
Can you just
January 2028, 2029?
I'm sorry, December 2028. Yeah. The end of 2028.
Can you just briefly describe what a UAP is?
UAP stands for Utility Auction Period. It's our internal jargon for what rate period we are in. We should probably, that's a helpful question. So each rate period moves from each of these lines is a six-month rate period.
This chart means, I have no idea what this chart is. Could you tell me what you're trying to show me?
Yeah, I'm sorry. So this represents the reserve accrual of the coalition. You could think of that as our equity position or profitability. And
is this your reserve? Is that what that is?
This is the reserve.
So you're trying to build a reserve.
We are in a period of building reserve towards
Okay, so what you're
targets.
showing me is that you have a negative reserve right now, and you're trying to go back to a positive reserve.
That is correct.
And positive is above the black line?
That is correct.
Okay.
And there are multiple lines. We forecast probabilities as the energy market is subject to wide variations. And we are refining those probabilities, but essentially we have a best case in green, a worst case in yellow, and a middle of the road case out of our 100 probabilistic scenario runs when we forecast load and price through our modeling. And there is a narrow band of variability during the current period, and this is because we have fixed our costs. We are not exposed to spot market variability during this period. Going into the next rate period, we will similarly purchase forward contracts, fix our costs, and then significantly narrow the range of variability. During a period of reserve growth, we have low risk tolerance, and so we like certainty and fixed costs and more certain outcomes. If perhaps there's some foregone upside value to that. If you have a wider range of probabilities, you might get lower prices and you might supercharge the reserve, but you might have a very expensive winter and you might draw your reserve, if that makes sense.
Can I just kind of summarize something? And correct me if I'm wrong, if I say anything wrong here, but in 2025, Community Power ran into some financial difficulties. And we ended up dipping well into our reserves and ended up almost in a negative position. And what we're doing now is trying to recover those reserves and get us back into a profitability.
That's well said. Yep.
And how were these negative reserves funded?
Through financing.
So you borrowed money against this?
That's correct.
Right.
We have contracts with
Yeah,
companies.
third parties, yeah.
allow us to draw on their credit.
That's correct. Other questions about this is an accrual forecast of reserves or equity. And we'll continue discussing this in some of the other slides. Oh, please.
Council, just a reminder, if you raise your hand to be recognized, just so that we can make sure everyone's got an opportunity to ask questions.
Just a
Council,
quick
please.
observation. This was done before the current global economic, whatever word you want to fill in after that.
Right.
Are they working on coming up with a new outlook now, or are you waiting for, are these set like intervals? Are you going to do another one of these at a set period of time at the next rate setting?
We run this sort of continuously internally on a weekly basis, and then we produce monthly reports, snapshots for the finance committee and the board. So there is a new report every month that is publicly published.
Okay.
And yes, we are observing energy market impacts of geopolitical events, and we have observed a bump up in winter forward pricing, this December, January expenses in the past couple of months. And so what that means, though, is what this is based on is underlying assumption that our rates fully cover our costs, whatever those costs are. And then the assumption is that on this slide, we see a 2-cent adder in the rate in green. And what this shows is the 2-cent adder, that green block, getting cut in half to a 1-cent adder as of July, as in a 1-cent rate relief of whatever the cost of power. But the cost of power for us and for other entities in this market is affected by geopolitical events for us and for the other entities.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
So anyway, maybe to zoom out just a touch further, we're going into an annual meeting where all the members will convene on April 30th. We'll have board election and committee appointments, and it's a good, get together with the membership more broadly as opposed to just the 20 board members. And we'll have lots of good discussions there, and then we're moving towards a rate setting in June where ourselves and utilities and others will set rates. There's a balance to be had to improve competitive positioning, rate competitiveness, while maintaining the growth in reserves. And again, affordability and customer rates, we care about, doing our best for the customers, most certainly. So that's some of the context of this. Okay, so other questions on this before I jump ahead? And again, happy to come back to this. Okay, the competitive energy landscape. So before I dive into all this kind of headlines here, again, as I kind of mentioned at the beginning, in 2023, the state embarked on the market transformation in the energy space, and we have since seen 30% of customers move into these locally controlled, sort of competitive energy community power programs. Now we're up to 70 plus towns, 30% of customers. In the midst of that market transformation, the state regulator, the Public Utility Commission, did a funny thing. They told the utilities to change how they purchase electricity. Utilities used to do fixed price contracts. Every 6 months, lock in a rate, you pay what you get. You know exactly what it is. In the midst of the past couple of years, the Public Utility Commission said, no more fixed price contracts for much of your portfolio, be in the spot market, and set what's called a proxy rate. Proxy rate is essentially an estimation of what 6 months of power will cost, and you set a proxy for that. And at the end of 6 months, you see, well, what was the actual? Did the spot market cost more, or did it cost less? And what we have found is that those proxy rates have materially underpriced the market relative to actuals. So we have these financial losses that have built up with Eversource and Liberty and the other utilities. And the folks in Concord at the legislature and the Public Utility Commission are trying to figure out what to do with that. So they're starting to generate some attention here, but I wrote a piece and I've shared it with you. And the Consumer Advocate wrote this piece down below, which I would encourage folks to look up and maybe take a look at his Substack blog. But this is exacerbated by, on the right, there's the reference to the governor and other coverage of this $921 million cost of DAISY, which is 6 times more than what was estimated. It was estimated at, between 100 and 200 million. It came in at 900 million. This was part of the winter impacts, why we're at the negative position we're at now. But this has affected everybody in the market, the utilities and other suppliers. And so the rates that we've seen with the utilities for this period and last period, most likely, or last period and most likely this period, haven't covered their costs. And so there's this question: how do we make up the losses? There's a bill, House Bill 1733, that would address this. And again, it's a complicated issue, but I'll do my best to convey it. On the one, there's this question of utilities used to just do fixed price contracts, stable backstop, you know what you get, there's no risk. So the bill, as originally passed to the Senate, said no more spot market, which was the source of these under collections. Because they went on the spot market, they could have won, they could have lost, but they lost. And so that's one question. Should they be in the spot market, or should they have a fixed price, sort of stable benchmark for the rest of the market to compare against? Should the monopoly utility be competing with community power and third parties in the supply business, or should they just be the backstop? That's the question. So that's one piece, spot market or fixed cost. The other piece is how do they collect for losses? There's 2 options. Sort of the fair option would be utility, Eversource has a supply rate. If they under-collected in that supply rate, they should put it back on the supply rate, and the folks who are on Eversource supply would pay for that. The other option under consideration is shifted into a stranded cost charge or a distribution charge, a poles and wires charge, that if you're on community power, if you're on Eversource supply, everybody pays it, so they would socialize that loss. So this is the policy discussion that is actively playing out with 1733 right now. So I don't know if that's clear, or if there's questions, but.
It is clear, or at least I think it is. Maybe I'm just imagining it, but basically you're saying either, well, there's the question of whether Eversource or Unitil or whatever should be competing with third-party suppliers in the first place, and then there's the question of whether a potential loss, how it gets recouped, is essentially whether it's socialized, everybody pays, or only your own customers would pay. I know what my answer would be. There are some customers in the market who don't have a choice as far as who they can choose, people who are net metered. So they have to choose Eversource. So they would be forced to pay, having no choice to be elsewhere. Is that, I know it's veering off topic, but I have to throw it in while I still remember. And if you can address that later on, that would be fine too. But is that, the kind of the forcing the net metered customers into Eversource contracts, is that something that is on the table anytime in the future? I asked Councilman Martina that every time he reports, so
yes.
I'm taking this opportunity to.
We care about this issue. We are frustrated that it has been slow progress, no progress to date on this. 2 sort of comments. On the one hand, like if there is this apparent premium to community power rates, and there is a premium, but there's this question of to what extent, if the utility rate didn't cover its costs, then there's sort of an artificial comparison there. Mm-hmm. But if the utility rate is lower than its cost, that actually hurts net metered customers because they get paid the utility supply rate. Mm-hmm. So the lower that supply rate is, and if the supply rate is actually getting pushed into a stranded cost charge, that's less compensation to net metering customers. That's one piece. And then the other piece, I wish I had better news on allowing Newmarket Community Power to serve the net metered customers and source power from them. We have some progress with Unitil, not yet with Eversource. Unitil is a little more further along with smart meters and data and wanting to share data with third parties and maybe enable a local market for net metered customers to kind of supply their community power program. In the next year or 2, we might be able to pilot something in some Unitil communities, and I think that's sort of that's our strategy there to move that forward.
Okay.
Very good. So I guess this is this is similar, but I did hand out, I don't want to have information overload, but on our website, we publish this market update, and I handed out printed copies of this. We talk about the Day Ahead Ancillary Services Initiative, the DAISY charge, and what's that about? How has that impacted the competitive landscape, our rates, other suppliers' rates? Purchase of receivables is sort of in the weeds. And then I just mentioned the uniform progress on data, rates of distributed energy. If you are really interested in this Senate hearing with the link in the materials was, I think, very enlightening, where you had legislators, like intelligent legislators on energy issues, Community Power Coalition, private suppliers and brokers, the utilities, Department of Energy, all sort of come together and talk about this utility proxy rates, and should they be competing, and what do we do about the losses? I thought it was a fascinating hearing. So just for your reference, if you're interested in checking that out. And then in terms of like the coalition strategy moving forward, our strategy to increase competitiveness is one, build the reserves that will allow for future rate relief over time, so we have to contribute less to the reserves. And also, by having reserves, we will lower our financing costs and our interest costs. We talked a little bit about that. We're also investing in portfolio management. So we have good partners and vendors, but we are moving into the remainder of this year and into 2027. We will be bringing in-house on staff more of the portfolio management role, the power purchasing. And so we're excited that we're going to be hiring a director of power operations and potentially doing some other restructuring. So expand internal staff capacity. Over time, we may be able to more directly participate in the ISO market, which opens up more flexibility and benefits. Build towards a credit rating. We do have access to things like low-cost municipal government debt, bond financing, things of this nature that can add to our competitiveness. And then ultimately develop, this is more long-term, but over the 3 to 5 to 10-year time frame, development of more energy projects will be a competitive advantage. If we have local batteries or solar plus storage or power generation, then that can enhance our ability to give customers value. We'll have local assets that has local economic benefit, but then it can essentially help match our customer load and demand with our supply purchasing in a way that is advantageous.
Thank you. Can you put some approximate timelines on those initiative strategies?
Yep. So right now we're in a sort of steeper reserve growth period through the end of July, and then we may this isn't decided, it's a board decision, but there may be some tapering of that reserve growth as soon as this year, if not 2027. And the reserve minimum target is end of 2028. So I would say a tapering starting this year or early next year, and then further tapering after we meet that reserve target. Lower interest and expense. We're right now forecasting retiring our financing obligations in Q2 2027. Portfolio management, I think in the next quarter, I think we could probably announce 3 or 4, we could announce a new director of power operations. And then within the 12-month time frame, there are plans for, that's a priority, our power operations department, and building out internal capacity. Market participant, that's a 3-year outlook. Credit rating, that's like a 3 to 5 year outlook. And project development, we have developed a project. So the largest solar array in the state, Warner, Poverty Plains, being constructed. That's a Community Power Coalition project. And that's going to go live in a month or 2. And then I think more of those to come in the coming years.
Is that, follow up?
Yes.
Thank you. Is that, so I have a question about the Warner project, but are these stepping stones that build on each other?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And the Warner project, is that owned by the town of Warner or Community Power in Warner, or is that a coalition coalition project?
It's owned by a third-party developer or financier, and we have a power purchase agreement where we essentially purchase the power
Gotcha.
from that. And then they have probably a payment in lieu of taxes, like with the town, so the town also has a local benefit payment structure there.
And how big is that?
5 megawatts. And, yeah, 5 megawatts. And if you're ever driving up 89 to Hanover, Lebanon, just look out your window on the right when you're in Warner and you see big, beautiful projects. Yeah. I'm sorry we don't have a photo. We'll put it in the next one. Other questions about any of this? I talked about some of these benefits, but so I don't know that I need to spend too much time here. But again, like our reserves are controlled and owned by the members. So when you see those reserves building, they ultimately are the city and town's monies. You know, you can't withdraw them unless you were to add a discretionary rate option. You could choose to mark up your rate and collect monies, but I understand Newmarket has not done that. Again, we're governed by our members. Mr. Leontine has been on our board, serves on a couple of our committees. You know, so the members are really driving our direction and our development of projects. We talked about, you know, the expanded competition in the market, expanded choices, some of the adaptations, you could call them, that we're seeing in the market from utilities. And then, you know, market innovation and public advocacy. So we have a great director of regulatory legislative affairs. We have a team that is representing the interests of communities at the Public Utility Commission, at the legislature. You know, if you'll subscribe to our legislative alerts if you're into that sort of thing. And, you know, I think it's valuable to have the municipal community voice as a counterweight to some of the investor-owned utilities in Concord. And we talked about that from the projects. We also purchase renewable energy certificates from customers all over the state, large and small. So if you have solar and you sell your RECs with another third party and you're interested in options, I think we have good pricing to buy local RECs from citizens all over the state. So that concludes the presentation, and again, I'm pleased to have more discussion.
Not to toot my own horn or our own one here, but one of the benefits of community power is on the legislative side that we advocate for consumers. Could you just talk a little bit about the Eversource wanted to overcharge all customers with their large customer under collections? Just mention that.
Yeah, so this issue kind of keeps coming up, but there was a significant success of the Public Utility Commission last fall, I believe, where the proposal at the Public Utility Commission was Eversource had some losses and we want to put them in stranded cost charge, and it was like $70 million, something like that, that was prevented from, you know, being socialized and charged to our customers.
But the losses were for their large customers, Walmart, Lowe's, and those type of things, and they wanted to pass that on to everybody, all residential. Right. Community power was instrumental in getting that reversed.
That's correct. Yeah.
Just questions, comments?
Councilor Blackstone.
So we've been following community power for a long time. I remember the vice mayor of Claremont used to give all the presentations. I remember you were a student at UNH working for free for community power for a while.
Something like that.
Well, that's what you told me. But so you have a board which consists of a number of people with some impressive resumes in this industry, right? And when a company like yours gets in trouble, like you did, it's typical that they would go out and try to find somebody with a lot of experience in the field who would be willing to put their name, you know, up as president of companies, basically saying, you know me, I'm a professional in this field. And, you know, I'm willing to say this company is worth, you know, investing in, right? Which is what you're asking us to do. Did you try to find somebody like that? And did it fail, or did you not try?
Yeah, that's a fair question. So, and I'm not sure exactly what time frame we're looking at, but in 2023, we concluded a national search for a veteran of the industry to hire as our CEO. That individual is our CEO for about close to 2 years, a little less than 2 years. And then we had a leadership transition and interim leadership starting in March of last year through very recently. And during that time period, the board did conduct an extensive search and considered candidates for the executive director position. And ultimately, honored to have been selected for that role.
So, could I ask a second question? So, are you familiar with what the town of Newmarket pays for electricity?
In terms of a rate or a dollar figure, or
The rate, yeah. Just the generation rate.
the supply rate is about 14.5 cents, right, for community power.
No, what the town of Newmarket pays.
I'm sorry.
I don't even know that off the top of my head. So.
We pay 9.89
Oh, I
cents.
see. I see. The third party, understood, right?
Yeah, which we have brokered, the same as you do. We went out and contracted it, right? And then we have a delivery charge on top of that, right? So, our job here is to make sure that the people of Newmarket, get the best deal they possibly can, right? And so we as a town are paying, roughly 10 cents a kilowatt hour, right? And then we're asking the town people to pay 14 cents a kilowatt hour. And it's not obvious to me, why we should ask the town people to pay this premium on top of what the town's willing to pay.
Yeah, I think that's well received. Those are fair remarks. Yep. Again, there are nuances in the market, but no, I hear what you're saying.
Counselor Blaisberg, and then we'll go to.
Yeah, I've been kind of thinking of how to word a similar question to that, and that basically the rate that we pay for the town that we negotiated for however long, and the rate that the customers that pay Eversource directly would go up and was higher before Community Power entered the market. So we're bringing the competition that brings the rate down for everybody, and also the other benefits like fighting the legislation for trying, the big corporations trying to have their costs covered by all residents. So yeah, I was trying to think of how to ask that in a way to understand it, and I think through that process I kind of think that is the goal of it, and also is the goal ever to beat the price, or do you expect to ever beat the price of Eversource and Unitil, or is that you want to keep them low and offer these other benefits, and by having the market competition?
Yeah, I'd say the goal is absolutely to make the rates more competitive relative to other options, including utilities. And I think we will see a trending towards more competitive rates across the board as some of these things shake out, like utility under collections. If they put some of those back into their rates, then that'll be an important decision of if they don't have to put those losses back into the rates, it will be difficult or perhaps impossible to beat those rates, which is why that's such an important policy issue and why we're sort of active in that. And we'll appreciate support from communities who understand and care about that issue. But yes, I would expect that in the coming rate periods, we will see a trend towards parity, perhaps, on some of these rates, and a narrowing of the gap. And then, yes, ultimately, the goal is to be equal to or more competitive than utilities.
Can I ask a quick follow-up?
Yes.
At one point, we talked about this with just asking Councilor Lamantina, and I forget what the rate was, but before Community Power entered the market, the rate was much higher. And obviously, we can't attribute all of that decrease to Community Power, but what was the rate before? 17 or
22 cents.
22 cents.
When we first started, and Community Eversource was way up here, 22 cents. We came in like 11 cents or
Yeah.
whatever, or something like that, almost half. And because of competition from Community Power, whatever, all the utilities, Unitil, and Co-op, they all came down as well.
Councilor.
My comments were similar, that there are other benefits that Community Power brings to the table that you wouldn't get with just going out and purchasing electricity from a third party.
Other questions? Councilor Bill?
This is more of a speculative thing, but when I think of community power of Newmarket, I'm thinking of a structure and an organization that provides, anticipates needs, and tries to invest in power generation for the people of the town. Is that a realistic vision to entertain, and how far into the future should one expect that to be before it becomes or could become reality based on current conditions in the market, especially and also taking into account the fact that the large utilities own the distribution system and build it out.
That's a great question, and there'll be a lot of nuance in an answer, but we have one example of constructing a community scale solar project just in our first couple of years of existence. That's a group net metering project, so it has certain rules there.
Mm-hmm.
Those rules are different if you do a wholesale generator that's over 5 megawatts, 10, 20, 50 megawatts. You can do those kinds of projects. So there's kind of some different structures. We could do net metering, we could do a wholesale contract. And we could do more of those now. We have done one of those, and we could do more of those soon. And then there is a more nuanced vision of what does a local energy market look like?
Mm-hmm.
And the current policy framework does not enable that. When you have local solar or battery storage or electric vehicles or batteries in people's homes, all of those things can produce serious value. They can lower our isolating costs, energy, capacity, transmission costs, these costs from out of state, but they're not paid for that way. There's there's a disconnect between the regulations and that would enable that market. So we could imagine, say, there's 5,000 electric vehicles in the state, and that's just like a power plant that is gone unused. Like, if you have those 5,000 electric vehicles, every day at 6 p.m., they could discharge their power into the grid, or they could only charge at nighttime. And in doing so, they are saving everybody in New Hampshire money because they're bringing down our peak costs at 6 p.m. on a hot sunny day, and they're shifting that load into the evening or into the middle of the day when the sun is shining. We don't have a policy framework that sends a price signal to the 5,000 electric vehicles or 10,000 houses that could have batteries that could be a virtual power plant. To achieve that will require some of these policy reforms. We've started to make progress with Unitil on partnerships there. I think it's a 3 to 5 year time frame till we're really developing like a better local market. That's the vision, and it takes state policy, it takes partnerships with utilities, it takes municipalities getting educated and
Mm-hmm.
Working on these projects. So we're sort of the coalition is build reserves to stabilize, make rates more competitive in the short term period of time, and that's the next couple of years. And then the pivot and the focus is what you're talking about is, well, how do you really build this local energy market that is directly beneficial to residents and businesses, make us more energy independent? I mean, we are 60 to 70% natural gas, and that's all imported, and that's all subject to the whims of geopolitics. And so if we have local resources like batteries or renewables or some of these other resources, there's huge long-term benefit to having that control.
Councilor Ward.
I was going to ask if we had more people join, more towns join New Hampshire Community Power, does that lower the rate over time, or will that having more people increase the rate? Like if it keeps growing, will we see the prices continue to go down, or see the prices go down?
Essentially, yes. There is an economy of scale, and things like the top two bars on this would be smaller because, well, at least the purple bar would be significantly smaller because we have the same operating expense in purple, but spread over more and more customers. So some of our fixed costs are a lower part of the rate, and then there's a better purchasing power. So scale is good.
Councilor Village should follow.
I was just wondering what kind of incentives utilities might need in order to move the market forward into a more resilient future.
Again, I'll use this. There's two instances. There's Unitil and Eversource. There's two of the utilities that are in this area. Unitil does not own transmission. Eversource does own transmission. Transmission means interstate, federally regulated. And so that's a big part of Eversource's business. If you have 5,000 batteries and 5,000 homes that are shaving peak load, they are eroding transmission revenue for the utility. So there is a misaligned incentive there, and I think that's a difficult problem to solve. Unitil, they don't own transmission, they're more of a local distribution utility, and they're interested in smart meters. And you need essentially the infrastructure. You need data, you need data to be shared, you need to send the data to the customer that can respond, and now you have an automated fleet of batteries that just know price high, sell, price low, buy. There's just an arbitrage mechanism there. Again, that would be beneficial to the whole state. You need a willing partner in the state and in the utilities. Or you need state policymakers that are willing to, I think sort of push in that direction.
Are there states that are farther along and that New Hampshire is learning from, that you are learning from?
It's like a fascinating industry because, Texas has its market, and that's like a very on the far end of the free market spectrum. And you like a lot of things about that because the suppliers can serve net metered customers, and there's all these price signals for local resources. But then you see some of the consequences if there's an extreme weather event, that price really flows through to customers. So that's one example. And then there's other examples all over the country. There's this like mosaic of fully vertically integrated. The utility just controls the whole generation to the meter, and there's no competition to different versions. There are other states or other countries. A place like the United Kingdom, you say something like time of use rate, and everybody's like, of course, like my washing machine and dryer, they just run in the evening hours. Like, why wouldn't you run your appliances when it's cheap and demand is low? Because you pay less. So it's a very accessible idea to some countries that have just done this already, and it's like old news. But in New Hampshire, if you don't have a time of use rate, people are like, well, I have to think about that to figure out how that works.
Thank you.
Questions for
So I could just kind of wrap things up or whatever here. So Newmarket Community Power is its own little entity type thing, and we could in fact go out and contract with some other company. There'd be some things that we would have to do to discharge ourselves from community power. But I would ask that the council continue to support community power. There are more benefits, I believe, in staying with community power than abandoning them just because they're 2 cents higher or 3 cents higher than customers.
All right. Anyone like the last word?
Kenny, I do appreciate your coming out here, addressing the council. Appreciate it.
Of course, yeah, happy to, anytime. Good to connect with you all. And if there's any other information or questions we can answer, we'd be happy to do that. So glad to be here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're going to close this work session, and then the regular meeting will begin at 7.
Appreciate your time.
Yeah, That's a pleasure.
It was fun.
I think it's interesting.
Hey, can you take us off TV and sound until 7? Thanks.
Yes, sir.
So, you want to take the next
Sound
one?
down here?
How the sound was. Like,
Oh,
hey, we used to get
Yeah,
it.
no, thanks.
Oh, yeah.
Good. Let's go.
You're on.
Good evening, everyone. At this time, I'd like to call the Town Council regular session to order for April 15th, 2026. And we will begin, as always, with the Pledge of Allegiance. This evening, Councilor Lamartine, if you could please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilor Lamartine, thank you. All right, next item is roll call, and all councilors are present and accounted for. We welcome councilors, and welcome to our new councilor, Councilor McSherritt. Lovely to see you. The next item on our agenda is the election of officers, the adoption of town council rules, and committee assignments. And so the first item is election of officers. The first officer up for election this evening is the office of the chair of the town council. At this time, I will open up the floor for nominations. I would like to begin. It is with great pleasure that I nominate Councilor Brian Ward to the office of chair. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilor Ward, do you accept that nomination?
I do.
Are there other nominations for the position of council chair? Okay. Any discussion? Okay, so none of you could call the roll. Councilor Glazebrook?
Aye.
Councilor Lamartine?
Aye.
Councilor Dornblue?
Aye.
Councilor McSherritt? Aye. Councilor Blackstone?
Aye.
Councilor Ward?
Can I vote myself?
Councilor
Yes.
Gomez?
Aye.
Councilor Conley? Aye. Motion passes 7-0.
Yeah.
And with that,
Thank you
I
very
will
much.
turn it over to you, sir. You want to switch chairs?
It's fine.
Yeah.
We're close. I think we're close enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll have to look at it. Okay. First of all, thank you very much. This is probably the most interesting tax day ever for me. But yeah, we will move on
For vice chair.
for vice chair. Okay, so do we have any nominations for the position of vice chair, Councilor Dornblue?
Yes, I would like to nominate Councilor Lamartine for vice chair.
Second. All right, and there's a second. Councilor Lamartine, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Or any other nominations? Seeing none, may you please call the roll?
Councilor Glazebrook?
Aye.
Councilor Lamartine?
Aye.
Councilor Dornblue?
Aye.
Councilor McSherritt? Aye. Councilor Blackstone?
Aye.
Councilor Ward?
Aye.
Councilor Conley? Aye. Motion passes 7-0.
We will rearrange the seating for the next meeting.
Okay, next we have our committee assignments for
Council rules.
Council rules.
Oh, council rules.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Next we have our, is there a motion to adopt the council rules for 2026, 2027 as amended?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Just for discussion, as the council is aware, I provided them with a red line version of new rules. Most of the changes were grammatical, changing things from chairman to chair, and just to fix some of the voting and connections with the right RSAs. One thing we did change was what happens if the chair and the vice chair are not here, but the chair wants to, or one of the officers want to participate remotely. And it will now add a provision to allow a council to step in as acting chair, even though the chair is in the room. Other than that, I know Council Matina and Council Dornblue just gave some changes. We did incorporate them in the new one. Nothing big. It was more just procedural. So that is what we have.
Yeah, as Councilor Lamartine.
Can we get a clean copy?
Yep, we'll get that as soon as. Yep.
All right. Is there any discussion on the changes or amendments to the town council rules? Councilor Dornblue.
Just to say that I'm glad that we've changed the verbiage a little bit to make it a little bit cleaner. and not gender specific. I think that's it sounds a lot more readable, and I think it cleans up some of the issues that I didn't even know were there. So it's good to it's good to be forced to read over it once in a while.
All right, seeing no, Councilor.
I just wanted to speak in favor of the changes. I thought the revisions that both Councilor Lamatine and Councilor Goldblatt offered were excellent. I appreciated the additional clarity to the language and the additional specificity sort of around roles and contingencies. So I'm in favor.
All right. Seeing no other discussion, will you please call the roll?
Councilor Glazeberg.
Aye.
Councilor Lamattina.
Aye.
Councilor Dornbusch.
Aye.
Councilor McSherry. Aye. Councilor Blackstone.
Aye.
Councilor Ward.
Aye.
Councilor Conley.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
All right, now the next item on the town council is the committee assignments for 2026 and 2027.
I would like to make a motion to finalize those at the next meeting, since we have a new counselor and new roles this evening.
Okay. Do I have a second to finalize these rules at the next meeting, since we have a new counselor?
You probably don't need to actually vote on it. We can just
Okay.
postpone it for the next meeting.
All right.
What we'll do is we'll distribute a list of all the committees, who's currently serving. Email and let us know if you want to stay, if you want to switch.
And folks have already sent that over, so what
Okay.
I'll do is I'll connect with you, Councilor Ward, and share that with you.
All right. Now that is passed. We will now open to public forum. This is the opportunity for all residents, property owners, and representatives of recognized civic organizations to address the council on items on tonight's agenda or matters pertaining to the business of the council. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes, and public forum will not exceed 15 minutes total. Please state your name and address for the record, and please direct all comments to the chair and council as a body, not individual members. Please note that the public forum is not a two-way dialogue, and the council will not be responding this evening. All right. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak?
Hi there, Tony Weinstein, 13 Libby Point Drive, and congratulations to the new chair and vice chair, and congratulations to Councilor Conley.
So that's what it feels like.
So I'm here tonight to talk about 2 events that are coming up. And the first is the roadside cleanup, and the first roadside cleanup was held in 2014, and it's crazy. And since then, we have picked up 503 bags of trash from alongside our roadways. And so this year, it's going to be on Sunday, April 26th. There's a rain date of Sunday, May 3rd, and people can pick up their bags and their road assignments from 9 to 11 at the Newmarket Library. I'll be there with my little tent and my table. And it's super easy. There's no registration required. And like I said, we will have a rain date of May 3rd, but that's like true rain. So if it's a sprinkly, drizzly day, we'll still have the cleanup. But if it's like a storm, we'll have it on May 3rd. And then the second, I didn't bring a flyer because I didn't have any colored ink. But there is a flyer hanging up in that Wendy posted for me in the hallway. It's been on Channel 8 and posted in the newsletter as well. And then the other item that I wanted to make sure that the council was aware, and anybody watching, is a proposed solid waste transfer facility that's in Epping. And there's a public hearing for that on April 28th at 5:30 at the Legion in Epping. And I know this is Newmarket, right? So why are we going to this potential public hearing in Epping? Because it's along the Piscastic River, which flows into our town. And the reason that there's even a second public hearing is because the first one wasn't properly noticed. So they didn't notice their abutters, basically, so other towns. So I'll be there, and I think it's really important issue for Newmarket. I know that the Conservation Commission has responded with a letter already, and so did the Oh, sorry, 5:30.
Can you repeat the date again?
Yeah, it's April 28th. And there was an article on Seacoast Online that had some more information. There are two letters, like I said, one from Ellen Snyder for the Conservation Commission, and then the other one was from, and those are available in the minutes. I have copies if anybody, I have a copy if anybody wants them. The Lamprey River Advisory Committee also wrote a letter opposing the facility. And that's it. Thank you.
Right on time. All right, is there anyone else from the public who wishes to speak tonight? All right, seeing no further speakers, public forum has now closed. We will now move on to town council to consider the acceptance of minutes. Is there a motion? These are minutes from April 1st, 2026, no joke. Is there a motion to accept?
I'll make the motion to accept.
I'll second.
Okay. Now, is there any discussion on the minutes? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Oh, sorry, please call the roll.
Did somebody second
Yep.
it?
Councilman Martino.
Oh, sorry. Councilor Glazebrook?
Aye.
Councilor Lamatino?
Aye.
Councilor Dornblue?
Aye.
Councilor McSherrill?
Aye.
Councilor Blackstone?
Aye.
Councilor Ward?
Aye.
Councilor Conley?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay. Next is for the town council to consider nominations, appointments, elections, and resignations. First on the list is Brianna Bernier, appointment to the Riverfront Advisory Committee with a term expiration in April 2029. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any comments on this nomination?
I did have a comment, I forgot to follow up on it. They say she's only been a resident for 3 months. There's no residential term requirement for committees, so.
Not for non-statutory committees.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? All right, seeing none, could you please call the roll?
Councilor Glazebrook?
Aye.
Councilor Lamatino?
Aye.
Councilor Dornblue?
Aye.
Councilor McSherrill?
Aye.
Councilor Blackstone?
Aye.
Councilor Ward?
Aye.
Councilor Conley?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Next, we have Laura Nolan, reappointment to the library trustees with a term expiration of April 2029. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
And is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, and is there any discussion? Oh, Councilor Conley?
I'll just say that I'm very pleased that Ms. Nolan is willing to continue serving as library trustee. I think she's a great addition to the board of trustees and serves the town well.
Okay. All right. Seeing no other comments or discussion, would you please call the roll?
Councilor Glazebrook?
Aye.
Councilor Lamatino?
Aye.
Councilor Dornblue?
Aye.
Councilor McSherrill?
Aye.
Councilor Blackstone?
Aye.
Councilor Ward?
Aye.
Councilor Conley?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay. Next, we have Austin Johnson, resignation from the Public Transport Advisory Committee. Is there a motion for this?
I'll make that motion.
And is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion or comment?
With regret.
Exception, yeah, with regret. Councilor Dornblue.
Exactly. I'm sad to say that, or sad to see that Austin had to decide to leave the committee. Things change. Life takes turns, and he was a good voice on the committee, and he will be missed. Every voice on the committee is helpful and makes the work more fruitful. So we'll miss him, and I'm sure he'll be back when time comes.
With no further discussion, could you please call the roll?
Councilor Glazebrook?
Aye.
Councilor Lamatino?
Aye.
Councilor Dornblue?
Aye.
Councilor McSherrill?
Aye.
Councilor Blackstone?
Aye.
Councilor Ward?
Aye.
Councilor Conley?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
All right. Next, we have Chris Blackstone, that sounds familiar. Reappointment to the Energy and Environment Advisory Committee with a term expiration in April 2029. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
And is there a second?
Second.
And is there any discussion or comment? Councilor Lamontina.
Yeah, so Chris has been with the committee for a short period of time, and she's been very good. Matter of fact, she got the town manager to actually approve some expenses.
And cheap.
I haven't been able to do that. So, I think she's a very valuable member. Can't say much for her choice spouse, but.
Two zings in that one, huh?
All right. Anyone else? Okay. Seeing no more discussion, could we please call the roll?
Council Glazebrook,
Aye.
Council Lamontina,
Aye.
Council Dornblue,
Aye.
Council McSherrill. Aye. Council Blackstone,
Abstain.
Council Ward,
Aye.
Council Conley.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0-1.
Next, we have Kimberly Hamlin, appointment to the Public Transportation Advisory Committee with a term expiration in 2027. Is there a motion?
So
And is there a second?
I was second.
Any discussion? Councilor Dornblue.
thank you. Just happy to see Ms. Hammond stepping up and volunteering for the committee. She came and offered some insights and comments at previous meetings, and it's nice to see that sometimes these things rope you in. So if you don't want to serve on a committee, don't come and speak. That's basically what the lesson learned is there. No, in all seriousness, we'll be very glad to have her on the committee. And I hope that you all agree.
Seeing no further discussion, could we please call the roll?
Council Glazebrook,
Aye.
Council Lamontina,
Aye.
Council Dornblue,
Aye.
Council McSherrill.
Aye.
Council Blackstone,
Aye.
Council Ward,
Aye.
Council Conley.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
And now yet another friendly face. Chase Eagleson, appointment to the Public Transportation Advisory Committee with a term expiration in April 2027. Is there a motion?
So
Councilor Dornblue, is there a second?
I was second.
Any comment or discussion? Councilor Conley.
I'm sure Councilor Dornblue will feel the same, but could not be more delighted that former Councilor Eagleson is going to be stepping up and serving on the Public Transportation Committee. He's thoughtful and engaged, and Newmarket is better because he's a part of it.
Councilor Dornblue, did you raise your hand?
that was well said. I don't think I need to add to that.
Sorry,
Thank you.
that didn't mean to put you on the spot. All right, seeing no other comment or discussion, could we please call the roll?
Council Glazebrook,
Aye.
Council Lamontina,
Aye.
Council Dornblue,
Aye.
Council McSherrill,
Aye.
Council Blackstone,
Aye.
Council Ward,
Aye.
Council Conley.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Next, we have Robert Daigle. Daigle, reappointment to the Zoning Board of Adjustment with a term expiration of April 2029. Is there a motion for this individual?
I'll make the motion.
And do I have a second?
A second.
Okay. Any discussion or comment? Okay. Councilor Dornblue?
I'll just say that it's impressive for someone to serve with such, tenacity on a board, and I'm glad to see that Mr. Daigle is continuing his work on the Zoning Board of Adjustment.
Seeing no further comment or discussion, could you please call the roll?
Council Glazebrook,
Aye.
Council Lamontina,
Aye.
Council Dornblue,
Aye.
Council McSherrill,
Aye.
Council Blackstone,
Aye.
Council Ward,
Aye.
Council Conley.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Now we move on to the report of the town manager, and I will now invite the town manager to deliver the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's the first time I've said Mr. Chair in a long time. I've been Madam Chair for a long time.
If you mix it up every now and then.
Thank you. In my written report tonight, first I want to go over two internal policies that I put in place. First, I want the town council to know that under RSA section, ordinance section 1-43 of the Newmarket Town Code, an administrative authority granted by the town charter. First, I've implemented a new policy adopted for the artistic message board use, effective April 1st, which establishes clear and consistent framework for use, approval, and management of these public communication tools. These are the new signs that one's already in the Arbor Park, and we're going to have 2 others. 2 others or 3 others? Good question.
3 others planned.
Okay, going out. We just want to make sure that we had some rules that we could follow in putting things up there. First, prioritizes official town messaging, particularly public safety, legal notices, and civic communications first, and while assigning coordination responsibilities to the rec director to ensure efficient scheduling and upkeep. It also reinforces the content standards to ensure accuracy, professionalism, and appropriateness, while preserving the role of the Arts and Tourism Commission to display approved artwork during periods when there's no active town messaging schedule. So basically, if there's no messages, there'll be art. If there's messages, we have to comply with certain items. The next item is that the policy was a use of artificial intelligence in the workplace policy, which is effective April 10th, establishing clear expectations on how AI tools may responsibly integrate in municipal operations. Policy centralizes oversight within my office with coordination with the IT department, ensuring that all AI tools are evaluated, approved, and used in a secure and appropriate manner. The policy emphasizes that while AI can enhance efficiency in tasks such as drafting, research, and data analysis, all final work products remain the responsibility of town staff with required human review for accuracy, tone, and compliance. As somebody told me, it's a quiet, unpaid, you don't have to feed intern, that you still have to look at the documents before it goes out. It also sets guardrails around data privacy, prohibiting the use of sensitive or confidential information in unapproved systems, and establishes a clear roles for employees, department heads, and IT in implementation and oversight. I think everybody's seeing in all their software, we're getting AI in everything, so we just want to have something in writing that make sure we do that. I did send out, after my report went out, because of the time frame for our meetings, the financials for March. Just a quick glance. We're 75% through the year, and we're doing quite well. We've collected 97.7% of all revenues. Reason for that is, as you know, we do our first tax collection in June, second one in the fall, so that's where most of our revenues come from. Nothing's out of the ordinary right now on the revenue side. On general fund, we're doing well there. We're doing okay as well, at 72% expended. As nothing out of the ordinary again, as council knows, we anticipated the fire and rescue part-time salaries to be over due to the per diem program, and that is offset by savings in the full-time salaries. And the other is we did have overages due to the winter storms activities in January, February, March. And we got a lot more ice and wet stuff than we did snow, which we would rather have snow than that. And that is all I have there. The next item is my annual presentation of the council orientation. I don't know what that thing is.
It's there for spite.
Yes, to get me moving. Okay. There we go. Okay. This is just my annual spiel, a good way to remind current counselors and explain to the new counselors some council orientation items. First thing I just want to go over is what are the 4 basic types of local government in New Hampshire? New Hampshire is not what they refer to as a home rule state. We're what they call a Dillon rule state, that we're only allowed to pass laws that the legislature allows us to. Maine, on the other hand, is a home rule state, which is the opposite. They can pass any laws unless the legislature says no. So we only get our authority through Concord. But the 4 types of local government in New Hampshire are first, where the strong mayor and board of aldermen. The people elect the CEO to run the city, which is titled the mayor. People elect a representative body to set policy for the city, which is the board of aldermen. And there's only 2 in cities in New Hampshire with this, and that is Manchester and Nashua. The next is what we refer to as the council manager form of government. Voters elect a legislative body for the city or town, and it's called the city or town council. The head of the council serves as the figurehead and chair of the council. It's either called the mayor, which they do in Portsmouth, Dover, those cities around here, or a council chair. The council has to hire a professional CEO to run the community, which is either a city or town manager. There are 11 cities and 8 towns in the state that have this form of government. They're the cities of around us, Portsmouth, Dover, Rochester, Somersworth, and the towns of Durham and Newmarket. The next is what you'll hear a lot of. One is the select board SB2 form of government. Voters elect a select board to serve as the governing body. They may or may not appoint a town manager or administrator to be the chief executive officer. Town meeting serves as a legislative body, and as a deliberative session, people meet to debate the amending articles. People then vote on town meeting day to approve the articles. There are 68 towns in the state. Around here are Exeter, Hampton, Rye, and Barrington. And then there's the select board traditional town meeting. Again, the voters elect the select board to serve as the governing body. They may appoint a town manager or not. The town meeting serves as the legislative body. They meet annually to approve the articles and the annual budget at a meeting. It's the typical Norman Rockwell standing up town hall town meeting. In most towns in the state have this form. Around here is Stratham and Newington. So the role of the town council is that the town council serves as the legislative and governing body of the town. In corporate world, the residents are the voters, are the shareholders, the town council is the board of directors, and the town manager is the chief executive officer. The town council is not a select board. The main distinctions are town council, as I said, not the same as select boards. They possess some of the powers held by select boards, but some of those authority goes to the office of the town manager. The town charter, which is our constitution, outlines how our government is operated, whereas traditional towns, it's all by state law. The council has all the powers of the city councils except for budget adoption. So the council exercises both the powers of cities, councils, and aldermen, and any action available to the city can also be taken by the town council. Except for a few cases, only budget and borrowing are presented for a vote at our town meetings, a deliberative session. And other than that, the council approves all other matters. You'll hear people say, well, I want a petition to put this on the ballot. We don't have that form of government. The council approves all ordinances and all policies in that situation. Its government structure, we resemble closer to Dover and Portsmouth than we do to Exeter and Hampton. So I always like to say that because you're going to see things in the news like, well, Exeter did this. It is confusing because it says the town of Exeter, but it's not the same form of government that we have. So just the role of the town council and the town manager. Just the town council sets policies and does not handle daily operations. It appoints a town manager, who's again serves as chief executive officer, and this is under statute under RSA 49D:2. The town manager holds authority under charter and state law, appoints all department heads with council approval, manages and disciplines employees up to termination alone. The council gets no involvement in discipline or termination of employees, and prepares and submits the budget in the CIP to the town council. The full authority is detailed in the charter and it's listed out. And the key distinction is the council makes policy and the manager and staff implement policy. This is just the organizational chart. Just the council has to act as a body. No one councillor has more or less authority than anybody else. No one councillor can influence the acts of town manager or employees. They cannot direct the appointment or termination of an employee or interfere with the duties of an employee. That's saying that, hey, why isn't my road paved this year? Hey, why didn't my road get plowed this time? Why my road hasn't been plowed yet? Can't do that. You can't get involved in the day-to-day operations. And councilors must deal with employees through the town manager. And I can tell you it goes the other way. All the department heads, I know every day when Councilor McSherry now is meeting with the department heads, because the first person they call when a councilor calls is me. So I know what's going on. Because one of the things we don't like to do is having one council want more information than somebody else. So if one counselor asks it, we provide the entire council with information. And this is the one big one. This is actually a violation of getting involved in the day-to-day is a violation. It could be forfeiture of office. They could be removed from office for getting involved that way. As I said, the town council must adopt all the laws of the town. The town council has budgetary control. So the municipal budget committee and the town meeting only approve bottom line of the budget. The rest of the year, it's the town council that approves with their policies any changes in the budget, changes, moving money from one department to the other. The town manager's financial responsibility. The town manager must approve any manifests for payment. I sign manifests twice a week with what we pay all the bills on the employees. I set the pay for the employees. We establish a purchasing code, and the town manager appoints the town treasurer. Just things you can just remember. Realize you're on a team. You represent the entire community at all times. You're doing this for public service, not to benefit personally, politically, professionally. And one of the things I would remind is you can't turn off being a counselor. You're a counselor 24/7 once you become in public office. And I've been at other towns that they say, somebody goes, well, I'm not speaking as a town councilor or a selectman or whatever. You can't, first thing, when you say that, yes, you are. Second of all, you're always in office until you get out of office. So just remember that. Just some of the relations with each other, set long-term and short-term goals together. I've been trying to get in touch with Primex to have our annual goal-setting session. Debate hard issues, but keep it civil. When the gavel bangs, it doesn't mean you have to hate each other if you don't agree with everything. Just try to respect colleagues and staff, even when you disagree. Decide only after hearing all the facts and avoid snap judgments. And remember, the council acts as one and no member has sole authority. The role of the council chair is that they are the first among equals. They have no more authority than any other councilors. They run meetings and assist the council in reaching decisions and moving discussions forward. They act as the liaison between the council and the town manager and helps resolve any conflicts between the two, and is also the ceremonial head of the town government. Just for relationship with town staff, don't micromanage. Let everybody do their job. Let the town manager and department heads run the day-to-day operations. Recognize and support the administrative chain of command. Do not undermine the staff. If there's an issue, tell the town manager and we'll solve it. Recognize staff has a difficult time trying to satisfy a diverse council. I always say, department heads are lucky they have one boss, and that's me. I am the one who has 7 bosses. So that's the way we should operate. And again, I work for the council, not a councilor, and I have to adjust to the council as a whole. So if there's a big change in the council, I change with the council. It's not that's part of the office. And try to get answers from me or prior to a meeting. We don't like to play gotcha at a meeting. Like, oh well, I need this information at a meeting, and the department head's like, what? We don't have it. So it's pretty good if you get your packets on Friday. Just send an email if you have questions, and we can try to get you that information. The council roles with staff is inquiry or queries only. All business flows through the manager. Call the manager for questions, complaints, and concerns. Department heads, as I said, may answer, but always keeps the manager in the loop. Work with the town attorney only through the manager or the full council. Usually, if it goes through the full council and not through me, it's because I'm the problem, which never had happened, knock on wood, but that's what happens. Avoid mixed messages. Speak with one's voice to the staff. I've been in times where, you'll have one council not agree with the rest of the council, and they'll try to influence department heads not to do something. That doesn't work that way. It's whatever the majority of the council wants. And again, council sets direction, and the manager leads the staff. Just some of the other rules. Council meets on the first and third Wednesdays each month. The agenda closes Wednesday before at noon. There are no late items unless it's emergency. That is a hard rule that I think we only waive it once in a blue moon. Council should not take up items staff hasn't had time to review. So if somebody comes to the podium and says, well, I have all this issue, just say, please meet with the town manager or the right department head, and we'll get that information to report back to you. We'd rather you guys have the right information by just being able to do research than something on the spot. Meeting packets are released the Friday before. Bottom line, deadlines keep meetings fair, organized, and efficient. Just so town council votes on 3 main items: ordinances, which are the laws of the town; resolutions, which are policies or positions adopted by the town council; and appointments to boards and committees. That's it. Ordinances and resolutions process is the first reading, placed on the agenda, no discussion. The chair just reads it into the record, and it gives time for the councilor for another 2 weeks to do research and look at everything. It may be referred to a workshop or scheduled for a public hearing. Usually we do not. Ordinances do have to require a public hearing. Then the second one is the second hearing. After a public hearing, if needed, the council may either you vote, pass it, reject it, refer to a workshop, or move to a third reading. That rarely happens. We're actually going to have one probably coming up soon. But that's the way. That's how we vote on items. And reconsideration, we don't allow that by motion. You can't make a motion to reconsider. You have to submit a new ordinance or resolution to rescind something. Non-public sessions are traditionally held before and are conducted under RSA 91A. Comments by visitors open to residents, property owners, and representatives of recognized civic groups and businesses in Newmarket. Others may speak only if the rules are suspended. To suspend the rules, it takes a 2/3 vote of the council. Speakers address the council as a whole, not as individuals. It's not a dialogue back and forth with the council. So it's a time and sometimes it's frustrating because somebody may be sitting there and they'll talk and you just sit there and stare at them. It's not a back and forth. Each speaker gets 1 3-minute slot. We just amended the rule that the chair can extend it by 1 minute under their purview. The chair runs the meeting. Council should only speak when called on by the chair. Here's my underlined one, capitalized. Raise your hands. Everybody.
Don't look at me.
Joe's just happy he was looking at it. Everyone needs to raise their hand. And it's very difficult for the person sitting in this chair to control the meeting. It's also very difficult for that individual over there taking the minutes to record the minutes if everybody just talks without getting recognized first. That's why we do it. And council should only discuss the topic at hand. If you want to bring up something new, comments by councilors is the time at the end. And then we will bring it up for a future agenda or work on something. No, we already went over this. No interruptions, speaking out of order. Comments goes through the chair. The chair may rule anyone, including councilors, out of order. If you're out of order 3 times in a meeting, you could be removed from the meeting. I've never seen it happen, but that's the council's rules. No direct questioning, interrogating audience members. Avoid first names. It actually breaks formality and looks unprofessional. It also is, you're not here, if there's a heated debate, you're not having a debate against Brian or Justin. You're having a debate against the office, the person in the office, so it's not personal. Only accept an appointment to something if you can attend nearly all the meetings. Represent the town well, dress appropriately, be on time, be polite, and do your homework before the meetings. Don't try to be a hero. Not every problem could or should be solved. Visitors' comments equal statements, not Q&A. No post-mortems. Once a vote's taken, it's final. Don't come back later in the meeting and say, I want to talk about that again. It's done. The vote's done. Respect staff recommendations. They're here to support good decisions. You may not agree, and it's okay to vote no, but the staff spends a lot of time doing the research and coming forward with policies and recommendations to recommend to the council. Like I said, you don't have to vote yes. We're not saying that. We're just saying respect their professionalism. Just your commitment makes a difference. Your efforts influence the direction of our community's future. Collaborate, communicate, and lead with honesty. Keep in mind the council functions as a unified body. Our success relies on cooperation and mutual respect, and remain knowledgeable, involved, and consistently uphold Newmarket's values. That is that.
All right. Next on our agenda is
Parking questions.
Oh, sorry. Any questions for the town manager? Councilor Blackstone.
Okay, I have a couple of questions on the reports of the department heads.
Oh, didn't we move on to that then?
I thought you just did, I'm sorry.
You can do either or. It's fine.
Okay, we are now talking about department reports. You may ask your questions.
So first thing is, I just wanted to say that I was thrilled that the police department finally bought a hybrid. I mean, we've been pushing that for like years, right? And I don't know if there was a special deal on that or what, but I was thrilled to see that. The second thing is, in Lindsay's report, she said that the consultants had done their analysis on Moonlight Brook, and they had next steps proposed, and that's all it said. And I wanted to make sure that we were actually then going to follow up on the next steps proposed. Yeah. Well, it wasn't the way it was written. I wasn't sure that we were going to do that. And then finally, I have had a number of personal tours of the waste management facility by Sam Hoffman, and I was always very impressed by his knowledge of the facility and his demeanor, and I just wanted to, on behalf of the town council, tell the family that, we really appreciate the work that he did for the town, and that, we're sorry that he died, I guess.
Any other discussions on department reports? Councilor Martina.
Yeah, I was going to also say, thank the police department for getting a hybrid vehicle. It's long overdue. And I did want to mention that there's a nice little write-up in there about Sam Heffron, town employee who unexpectedly passed away. My condolences to his family. That's all I have.
Somewhat on that note, I believe, was New Hampshire Clean Water Week in March or this month? I just looked on the website, but it would be a tour of the wastewater facility.
That's this week.
Okay, so it's this week. So people out there, if you're interested, it's a very good tour, and whatever you might be, it's much cleaner than you think it is. But it's a very important facility. We use or rely on it for all the water in town, keeping it clean, and it's really a good time and really good to go there, see the work that goes into keeping our water clean, keeping our rivers clean, and meeting some of the people who are responsible for the fact that, there are plenty of places around the world where clean water is a luxury, and we are very lucky that when we turn on the tap, we know we're going to get clean water, it's going to be safe, and if you can get a chance, there are tours open for the rest of the week, and it's just down by what's the address of it?
Young Lane.
Young Lane. Okay.
8.
Okay.
Yeah, which is right up New Road.
Go down Young Lane and look for the base building that has a bunch of tanks and stuff. Okay. Now, was there anything else regarding department reports? Seeing none, we will now move on to committee reports. Does anyone have any committee reports to give this evening? Councilor Dornbrook.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I almost said that.
Yeah.
I wonder what this is going to be like the year or something. It takes you a while. So the transportation committee met. I guess it was last week. There's been a lot going on in my life, so I may be wrong, and maybe in the week before that. We had a presentation that we were fortunate to have Lieutenant O'Brien organize two vendors for to implement paid parking in the town, present one for the front end, one for the back end. It was, we had lots of questions. There are still, it raised more questions than we had before, and we got plenty of information to move us to the next stage, which is to have conversations with surrounding towns on their experience, rollout, issues, concerns, benefits, goals and objectives, and such. And the long story, to cut it short, is that we're working hard to develop as comprehensive a report outlining possible benefits, a good analysis of the financial impact to the town in order to get started, and whether or not we would recommend to the council to move forward with implementing parking management here in town, which can have multiple aspects. There's not just the metered spots on the street, but it's also implementing or modernizing the permit system that we have for public lots. So when you purchase a monthly permit or an overnight permit, that process is easier, and the location of the lots is more easily found and obtained by those seeking a permit. And there might be a slight adjustment to the permit rates to reflect increased costs and make sure that we are kind of in line with the way other towns are handling these kinds of resources. In addition, we're seeing the benefit of aligning that effort around parking with the wayfinding and signage RFP that was issued. Great opportunity to work in parallel and have a kind of a branding and wayfinding strategy for the town to identify where lots are, of course, and the town has received several responses, and they're currently being reviewed, and we're hopeful that the two efforts will align on a timely basis, so that we can move that forward. Whether we go forward with a parking management approach or not, we will certainly have better signs. I can say that it is the feeling of the committee at this point that at the very least we should modernize the way we issue permits, just to take some of the burden off the shoulders of the police department, and to better utilize the resources that we already have. Some of the lots are simply not known, or the fact that there's parking right out here that you can utilize, so that the objective really is for us to or the objective that we are proposing the council consider is to focus on a more effective and efficient utilization of existing resources, so that we can avoid the costly expense of expanding parking, which is obviously a much greater investment than trying to manage better what we have. So that's the report from the Transportation Committee.
Okay. Any other reports? Okay. I have two. The Conservation Commission met on the 9th and elected its newest officers. Zach Angelini was made chair, Luke Fromm was made vice chair, Ellen Snyder made treasurer, George Anderson made the rep to Energy Environment, Jess Can made representative to Riverfront, and Luke Fromm was also made representative to the Planning Tech Board Review. Let's see. We had a public hearing about 16,000 with the acquisition of conservation easement on the Rosa property that closed without comment and was approved. Turtle Fest planning is in full swing, and t-shirts and bandanas are now for sale at the library and at the town clerk's office here in this building. So come on and get yourself. It was made, get one, designed, made by town local John Herman. So now becoming a collector's item. So Zach Angelini is working on something called Big Night's Amphibian Crossing. So when the weather is right, lots of little, frogs, salamanders, as turtles and other animals will cross during the night, unfortunately get run over. So then in certain conditions, which is raining, when the ground has thawed and the temperature is above 45 degrees at night, they will go out and help these animals get across, wave like flashlights. It's like, hey, please don't run over this turtle. Which may sound a little, but we do have a few species of endangered animals here. Conservation is very important, and anything we can do to keep local wildlife, thriving is very important. So if there's anyone who has interest in that, please reach out to Zach Angelini, the chair of the Conservation Commission. And again, they can't really predict when, but it'll be nighttime, raining, above 45 degrees, and the ground is thawed from like 8 to 9 p.m. Going on. And also, the Rain Barrel Community Program will start on June 6th with sales. Newmarket is partnering with the Great American Rain Barrel Company for $89 per barrel. And yeah, so if you are interested in getting some rain barrels and what that's looking for, this would be an excellent time to buy one or research into it. And let's see. And my second committee, I have so many. The 300 committee met on the 8th. It is official that the parade for 300th will be on October 17th, 2027, so not this year, following October. We also had a presentation by Councilman Mitchell about the bulletin board, which maybe she will bring up during her comment, during council comments at the end.
Here's the bus.
No worries. Otherwise, things have been going very well. 100th commemorative tree, so a tree that it will honor the 300th anniversary of town. So. And those are my committee reports, and I almost said now to you, Chair. All right, but if there are no other committee reports, we will move on to old business, and I thank our attendees for being so patient. Resolutions and ordinances in the second reading. The next item is Resolution 2025-2026-37 concerning Newmarket Public Library roof repairs. This matter is on its second reading. Is there a motion to adopt?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
The library director is here to explain the project and answer any questions, so.
Sure.
You can come up to the mic if.
Thank you all. In short, we had a study done by a roofing contractor who had worked on a building previously, is capable with slate and the historic essence of the building. And they have reported two issues with roofing in the valleys where it's a rubberized surface actually. But prior to those repairs, they also identified some chimney needs with masonry, and that's where there's a little bit of an open-ended issue. But we have a quote that covers the extent of everything that's enumerated in the report or the resolution. For the high end, hopefully we won't need to rebuild as much, or the liners won't need to be replaced as extensively as the potential. But the mason, again, a historic building capable entity, will expand on the need as he discovers anything that is unknown until the actual demolition and exploration of the situation. But I think the resolution states the extent of the, even if we're at the worst of the situations, hopefully we won't be, but the numbers are there, and the entirety is covered by the balance of the CIP as it stands. So I think it's just capturing this particular instance in a second resolution regarding the CIP monies.
Any questions or comments? I will say, as a frequent visitor to the library, I glad that we are trying to keep the books dry. Yes, this sounds like it sounds like something that needs to get done, and there's no real point in delaying it, so. Okay. Seeing no other comments or questions, could we please call the roll?
Council Glaseberg?
Aye.
Council Amatina?
Aye.
Council Dornblue?
Aye.
Council McShare?
Aye.
Council Blackstone?
Aye.
Council Ward?
Aye.
Council Conley?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want me to read the resolutions so you don't have to read them on your phone?
Yeah, my personal laptop's a little fritzy right now.
That's
so-
okay.
Okay, so moving on to ordinances and resolutions in the first reading, which will be read off by the town manager.
First resolution is resolution number 2025-26-39, a resolution renaming Beach Street Extension as Cheswell Street. Whereas Martin Cheswell, a lifelong resident of Newmarket and one of the town's most accomplished early citizens, serving his community for nearly half a century, demonstrating a deep commitment to education, a respect for history, civic engagement, and public service, is a leader of the town of Newmarket throughout the American Republic. And whereas Cheswell preserved the early history of the town by transcribing Newmarket's records, including its incorporation, ensuring that future generations would have access to the community's historical record, and act that saved said record when the original documents were destroyed by a fire. And whereas Cheswell demonstrated an early interest in preserving and understanding the region's deeper past, recording observations of indigenous artifacts and sites in the Newmarket area and beyond, and reflecting one of the earliest efforts statewide of what would become the field of archaeology. Whereas Cheswell also worked to establish one of Newmarket's earliest London libraries, making books available for enrichment, and laid a foundation for what would eventually lead to the Newmarket Public Library. Whereas Cheswell was deeply committed to education, having served Newmarket as a teacher, building its first schoolhouse, helping guide the development of Newmarket's public education system as one of the inaugural school board members, ensuring that future generation would benefit from learning and civic knowledge. And whereas in the months leading up to the American Revolution, Cheswell served the patriot cause as a trusted messenger rider carrying an urgent intelligence from Newmarket to Exeter, built rafts to defend Portsmouth Harbor, helping contribute to the earliest acts of resistance against British authority. And whereas Martin Cheswell answered the call to military service to the American Revolution, serving in General John Stark's brigade, and hand-picked member of John Langdon's company of the Light Horse Volunteers, taking part in the Saratoga campaign of 1777, where the American victory marked a turning point in the war and helped secure international support for the cause of independence. And whereas the nation approaches the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution, communities across the country are seeking meaningful ways to recognize individuals and local events and contribute to the founding of the nation. Whereas the story of the Cheswell family, a path that led from enslavement and freedom of his grandfather Richard, likely the first person of African descent to own land in New Hampshire, to hard work and community leadership of his father Hope Still Cheswell, a housewright who contributed the framing homes in nearby Portsmouth that stand today, including John Paul Jones' home and the Stouby Tavern at Strawberry Bank, to Martin Cheswell's own service together reflects the ideals of perseverance, civic responsibility, and opportunity to help shape Newmarket in the United States. And whereas naming Public Street in honor of Wentworth Cheswell and his family provides an opportunity to educate residents, students, and visitors about Newmarket's role in the Revolutionary era, the lasting contributions of one of its most dedicated citizens. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that the town of Newmarket hereby renames Beach Street Extension as Cheswell Street in honor of Wentworth Cheswell and his family, in recognition of the aforementioned contributions and enduring legacy in the town of Newmarket. First reading April 15, 2026. Sponsored by Councilor Dornblue.
I think I know who helped you write that.
I did not write that.
The next resolution.
I know you have a comment on that.
Yeah. Resolution number 252640, adoption of municipal debt policy. Whereas the town of Newmarket is authorized to incur debt in accordance with the provisions of RC Chapter 33 and other applicable laws governing municipal finance, and whereas the prudent management of municipal debt is essential to maintain the town's long-term financial stability, protecting creditworthiness, and ensuring responsibility use of taxpayers' resources, and whereas the town council desires to establish a comprehensive and consistent framework governing the issuance, management, and repayment of municipal debt obligations, and whereas the municipal debt policy provides clear guidance and authorized purposes, statutory limitations, debt instruments, procedures, and ongoing monitoring and reporting requirements, and whereas the policy aligns with applicable provisions of RSA Chapters 32, 35, 35A, and the town charter, and whereas the town council finds the adoption of this policy will promote transparency, fiscal discipline, and coordination with the town's capital improvement planning process. Now therefore be it resolved by the Town Council of the Town of Newmarket, New Hampshire, that the adoption of the policy, the Town Council here does adopts the municipal debt policy attached here to and incorporated herein by reference. And this policy shall apply to all forms of debt issued on or by or on behalf of the town, including but not limited to bonds, notes, lease purchase agreements, and short-term borrowing instruments. The town manager and the director of finance administration are hereby authorized and directed to implement and administer this policy in accordance with applicable state laws and town charter provisions. Consistency with the law, nothing in this policy shall supersede or conflict with applicable provisions in New Hampshire law, and in the event that any conflict, state law shall control, and this resolution shall take effect immediately upon adoption. Sponsored by Chair Conley by request, because of timing. First read April 15th, 2026. And finally, Resolution 252641, MS4 General Permit Compliance Assistance. Whereas in accordance with the New Hampshire MS4 General Permit, the town of Newmarket is required to perform activities and implement plans to protect water quality and natural resources. And whereas town staff would like to partner with Geosyntec Consultants, Inc. to perform the catchment investigation, system mapping, and wet weather outfall inspection screening at MS4 outfalls in accordance with the town's illicit discharge detection and elimination plan. Now therefore be it resolved by the Newmarket Town Council that the Town Council authorizes the MS4 General Permit Compliance Assistance and further authorize the town manager to execute any documents necessary to complete the project. In addition, the Town Council authorize the expenditures up to $46,700 from Stormwater Management Capital Reserve Fund, sponsored by Chair Conley by request. First reading April 15, 2026.
All right. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Manager. Right. Moving on is new business and correspondence. Is there any correspondence needs to be brought before the Town Council?
There is none.
Okay. And now is closing comment by town councilors. This is the time where if there's anything that was not on the agenda or something you want to bring up, this is your chance to bring it up. Councilor Blackstock.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, not to be outdone by Councilors Glasberg and LaMattina, I painted a tile with the Newmarket Historical Society. And mine is equally terrible.
Wow.
Councilor Conley.
Thank you. I just wanted to take a second to amplify the announcements that Representative Weinstein made earlier and encourage folks to please come out on April 26th, at Sunday, between 9 and 11 at the library to pick up some trash bags and directions and help us clean up Newmarket. And please consider attending the public hearing on 428 at the Legion in Epping at 5:30.
Councilor LaMattina.
Reminder, Turtle Fest, May 9th, 9 o'clock, Junior Senior High School.
Councilor Dornbloom.
Thank you. I just wanted to pick up on your comment on the rain barrel program. The ordering is open now, so you can go to the website, greatamericanrainbarrel.com/community, and order a barrel. It costs about $90. There's a $10 discount available for the first barrel that you order, but there's no limit on barrels that you can order. So if your house is rather large and there's a lot of runoff off your roof, you can capture it with more than one barrel. Always a good thing. And it really does help if you have a garden or need to do some watering during dry spells to have a rain barrel available. I also wanted to mention or pose this question, I guess, to the town manager, but we have two fairly prominent bridges as you enter town. The Veterans Bridge and the bridge leading over the Piscassic. I would really love to see some planters on those bridges with blooming plants to beautify the town, beautify the entrance to the town, especially in light of the the historic events that we're about to commemorate. So I'm hoping that we can make that happen.
Me too.
Is that a blue Newmarket?
We'll figure it out, yeah.
Quickly, I was just say one thing about the rain bales. They do have covers to prevent mosquitoes growing.
Yes.
That was one of the first things I thought when I thought, yes, if you get one, they will have covers so you don't get, mosquitoes. Councilor, please.
In honor of the Turtle Fest, you would want to pay attention to the statue that's on top of the current artistic messaging board, as it will be changing to a little shell creature temporarily until the other art triangles are in place.
Anyone else? All right. I will now try to pitch after Turtle Fest. The weekend after Turtle Fest, there will be the second annual Newmarket Cemetery Restoration Day at Burley Cemetery. Basically, we just go in, and this is on near 10 Ball Hill Road. Cemetery has not been and cleaned up for a while, so there's lots of leaves, invasive plants or saplings, branches growing in. So, and it's going to be on May 17th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Burley Cemetery on, and while I just set the date, at Burley Cemetery, which is on 10 Bald Hill Road. And then that evening, at 6 to 8:30, there will be a presentation about the history of the cemetery and of Newmarket held at the Polish American Club. So if you can't attend one, please attend the other. If you can attend both, that would be great. We're going to see if we can get some pizza at that time, so that'll be nice. But yeah, cleaning up, we will be going in, raking up the leaves, trimming up brush. We had a blast last year, and we managed to clean up the entire first cemetery well within the time. So, and the only person who was injured was me because I tried to jump off a walk crawl. I tried to jump down. It was like, oh, that's like a foot, but the ground was a lot softer, and my ankle rolled a little bit. So, just don't jump off walls, and we will be having.
Stay away from Brian.
Yes. Anyways, that's the last from me. Now, is there anyone else who has anything else to bring up before we adjourn? Oh, go right ahead.
I wanted to say how grateful I am and honored to be on the council and to extend the work that I do with around communities. I did want to mention that the bulletin board is soft launched, so I wasn't going to mention it, but all the events that you talked about, if you weren't sure where to go, if you like to try to find it in the newsletter from the town, etc., it's all on the bulletin board. But it will be hard launched May 1st.
All right, our next regular council meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, May 6th, 2026 at 7 p.m. here. If there is no objections, I will consider us all adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations.
Yeah, great.
Okay, thank you.
And now I go home, eat ice cream, and watch a D&D campaign called City Council of Darkness.